Imagine waking up to a future where your entire identity, your right to work, access services, and even prove who you are, is locked away in a digital system, accessible with a tap on your phone. Is this the bold step toward a safer, more efficient society? Or a gateway to unprecedented government oversight? Buckle up, because UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to unveil plans for just such a compulsory, nationwide digital ID scheme in a speech this Friday. And it's sparking debates that could reshape how we live and interact with the state. According to insiders close to the government, Starmer sees this initiative as a powerful tool to combat illegal employment and bring the UK's administrative systems into the modern era. Think of it like upgrading from clunky paper passports to a sleek digital wallet that verifies your identity instantly. The scheme's details, however, will be hammered out through a public consultation process. This is crucial because it needs to address real-world challenges, such as ensuring accessibility for people who don't own smartphones or traditional passports. For beginners wondering what this means, a digital ID could be something like a secure app on your phone that holds verified information about you, similar to how banking apps store your details safely. The consultation will explore ways to make it inclusive, perhaps by offering alternative methods like biometric scans or community-based verification, so no one gets left behind in this digital shift. To put this in perspective, remember the last time Labour tried to introduce ID cards back in the early 2000s. That effort was ultimately scrapped by a conservative Liberal Democrat coalition. But Starmer believes the landscape has evolved dramatically. In a recent interview, he pointed out that we're all carrying far more digital identifiers now than we did 2 decades ago. Think social media profiles, online banking, and even fitness trackers. Psychologically, he argues, this makes the idea of a unified digital ID feel less intrusive and more like a natural extension of our daily lives. It's a fascinating evolution, showing how technology has changed public perceptions over time. Reports indicate the government intends to leverage this new system to verify individuals' eligibility to reside and work in the UK, cross-referencing personal IDs against a centralized database. Currently, these verifications rely on physical documents, but since 2022, some pathways have allowed online checks for certain groups. This digital leap could streamline the process, making it faster and more reliable. And here's where it gets interesting. This proposal wasn't part of Labour's election manifesto last year, and the government had previously turned down a similar idea floated by former Prime Minister Tony Blair. Yet in recent weeks, ministers have ramped up their enthusiasm, driven by mounting pressure to address illegal migration. It's a pivot that highlights how political priorities can shift with real-world events. Cabinet Office Minister Pat McFadden has highlighted another upside, enhancing access to public services. He recently traveled to Estonia, a country that's pioneered digital identity systems. There, citizens use their digital IDs to seamlessly access everything from medical records and voting booths to banking services. For instance, imagine logging into your doctor's portal with a quick scan of your phone to view your health history, or casting your vote from home without ever touching a ballot paper. This isn't just theory. Estonia's model has been praised for efficiency and security, potentially serving as a blueprint for the UK. But here's where it gets controversial. Not everyone is on board, and the criticisms are coming from all sides. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has called a mandatory ID a very serious step that demands a thorough national conversation. She dismissed the announcement as a desperate gimmick aimed at diverting attention from internal party dramas, like the leadership tussles involving Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham ahead of Labour's upcoming conference. Badenoch has also argued that digital IDs won't truly tackle the root of illegal working in the UK, suggesting it's more of a band-aid than a cure. And this is the part most people miss. While it might help with enforcement, critics worry it could create new loopholes or burdens for everyday citizens. Reform UK has gone further, labeling the plan a cynical ploy to mislead voters into thinking something meaningful is being done about illegal immigration. They contend it's ridiculous to assume that those already flouting immigration laws will suddenly start complying, or that digital IDs will dent illegal work. Instead, they warn it will only erode the liberties of law-abiding Brits, potentially turning routine activities into constant identity checks. The Liberal Democrats, who were instrumental in derailing the previous ID card scheme, have echoed this stance, stating they cannot support a mandatory system. Their technology spokesperson, Victoria Collins, emphasized that no one should face criminalization simply for lacking a digital ID or choosing not to use one. It's a point that raises questions about equity and personal choice in a tech-driven world. Even former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, who's gearing up to launch a new left-wing party soon, has voiced opposition. He branded a compulsory scheme an affront to our civil liberties, highlighting concerns about privacy and government overreach. These viewpoints paint a picture of a deeply divided debate, where security advocates see progress and libertarians spot potential tyranny. To understand the current setup, employers are already required to confirm that job candidates have the legal right to work in the UK. Since 2022, they've had access to government-certified digital verification tools for passport-holding British and Irish nationals. There's also a Home Office online platform for checking the status of some non-British or Irish residents whose immigration details are stored electronically. The government is gradually phasing out physical permits for foreign residents, replacing them with online-only e-visas. Officials are now investigating if a mandatory digital ID could create a uniform method for identity verification, potentially cutting down on forged documents and sharpening enforcement efforts. For example, imagine a scenario where fake IDs, which have plagued industries like construction or hospitality, become obsolete because every check is instantly validated against a secure database. However, not all feedback is positive. The Open Rights Group, a campaign focused on civil liberties, has pointed out issues with the existing e-visa rollout, including data glitches and system breakdowns. They argue that broader digital ID proposals could usher in a pre-crime state where people are perpetually required to prove their identity in everyday situations, like boarding a bus or entering a public building. This fear of constant surveillance is a counterpoint worth pondering. Is the convenience worth the risk of a society where privacy feels like a relic? Starmer's speech on Friday will also tackle the broader immigration tensions that fueled summer protests outside asylum centers. He'll present world leaders, including those from Australia and Canada, with a stark choice. Embrace a politics of predatory grievance that exploits working people's frustrations, or pursue the politics of patriotic renewal that strengthens the nation. He'll caution against the dangers of toxic online discourse, noting how its most harmful ideologies were on display during recent protests in London, including a march by far-right activist Tommy Robinson that drew up to 150,000 participants waving Union Jacks and St. George's flags. At the same time, Starmer will defend his administration's efforts to rein in immigration, asserting that it's been too simple for people to enter, vanish into the informal economy, and stay illegally. He argues that true left-wing compassion doesn't involve exploiting vulnerable foreign workers or driving down fair wages. The simple fact is that every nation needs to have control over its borders, he'll say, framing it as a matter of national sovereignty. In a Telegraph op-ed leading up to the speech, Starmer acknowledged that left-wing parties, including his own, have historically avoided confronting public worries about illegal immigration. Without naming names, he reflected on this reluctance. Yet, he firmly rejects Reform UK's toxic approach, calling their simplistic slogans ineffective. There is no silver bullet, he writes, but we must enforce every possible measure to deter illegal migrants from entering British waters. It's a balanced stance that invites reflection on the balance between compassion and control. So, what do you think? Is a compulsory digital ID the innovative solution the UK needs to modernize and secure its borders? Or does it represent an overreach that could stifle personal freedoms and privacy? Could it truly curb illegal activities, or might it just shift the burden onto ordinary citizens? And how does Estonia's success story compare to potential UK challenges? We'd love to hear your opinions. Do you agree with Starmer's vision, or side with the critics? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's discuss.